down. So for those of people who typically stream on Facebook, it is not coming through. So we are live only on YouTube this morning, and unfortunately not on Facebook. So we're having a little technical difficulties. So we apologize for that. But we're going to go ahead and go with the show anyway. I went for Joe to jump into the studio. It looks like he's coming right now. And lo and behold, there he is, Joe Sanfilippo. Joe, I saw your tweet.
Keep
Joe.
it down.
You
gotta keep it down, man.
Today,
you gotta be careful. We want to make sure that we're allowing all the hunters to be able to kill the animals. So that's good.
That's right. We apologize for our tardiness. We're having a little technical difficulty this morning. Our StreamYard crashed on Facebook. So unfortunately, for those who typically follow on Facebook, will not be able to join us live this morning, but we will still go ahead and do the show and we'll record it. And we'll still put it on YouTube. So for those that are on YouTube, looks like we got 5 people on YouTube, Joe. So guess what? Good. There's still people listening, Joe. So Joe, I mean, Josh is here and he's even saying, Joe, let's test this just for a second. Joe, look at Josh's message, and I want you to pronounce that word for me.
I can't see the comments from my screen. So I'm out.
Darn.
Yeah, sorry. Tough break, huh?
I think that's the lie. I think you can. I think you just actually. He said, "Go Crickets," Joe.
That's all that matters. Then there it is. Now I see it on front. Oh, you know what? I bet you it's over here. Hold on a sec. All right, now I got it. Yep. All right, good. Greetings from Garland. Go Crickets. There it is.
Hey, what's the first one? What's the first word, Joe?
It says StreamYard on it.
Joe, I wanted you so badly just to say it. It says saludos. Saludos.
No, that's not what it says.
Joe, you hang around me long enough. I'm going to make you a Spanish speaker yet.
Saludos, I would love that.
Saludos, mi amigo.
That's what I said.
Saludos. Good morning.
Saludos.
Saludos.
See how good that was? That was fantastic. I took really Spanish in high school.
I'm proud of you, Joe. Proud of you, buddy. So, hey, if you're just joining us, we're just sharing that unfortunately we had some technical difficulties this morning with Facebook. We are not live on Facebook, but we're still live on YouTube. So we're going to go ahead and do the show. So we apologize just for being late for a few minutes. And thank you for hanging in there with us. So Frank, thank you for being here. Josh, thank you. And for the rest of you, thank you as well. And Joe, so what's on your mind today? I know I always have something I want to talk about, but I know you and I, just so people know, Joe and I don't like talk before the shows that says, hey, we're going to talk about this or talk about that, because we just kind of go with the flow wherever we go. So, but if we have something we want to share, we'll start it there, and wherever it goes, it goes. So, Joe, anything on your mind this morning?
No, I don't. I think like last week when we were talking, one of the things that was really interesting to me is when I was flying out. But before I did that, I was talking about this whole concept of giving yourself the best chance to do the best work that you can. And I think there's a time and place where we just kind of go and do and never take a step back to realize that. And that happened over the course of the last couple of weeks. Last week was actually better, but the week before I thought, my goodness, I just can't get in front of anything right now. And so that impacted all of my interactions. And at the same time, then, it impacted people walking away from those interactions, which is tough because, you're trying to do the best work you can all the time. But at the same time, if we're not putting ourselves in the best position by it's either taking care of yourself or finding a way to put yourself in the right mindset or whatever, I sometimes forget about not only does that impact the interaction that I have with somebody, but it also impacts their next interaction too. And so I've been really cognizant of that this week. It was better this week in doing that because I kept walking into conversations, knowing and understanding that might have an impact on whatever their next conversation was. So that's kind of what I was thinking about today. But I guess I was also thinking about this, with it being Thanksgiving week, and we're off for the whole week of Thanksgiving. And the interesting piece about just the whole process of, just kind of taking a step back and giving thanks for what you have is how many times do we do that outside of our inner circle of people? How many times do we give thanks to somebody, or we just, think about it, but we don't say anything about it? I mean, it's really easy for me to send a couple text messages to people that I'm connected with, and saw something that they did at school and tell them thank you for what they're doing. But how often do I get out of that inner circle and send that same text message to somebody that I don't get a chance to see or connect with, or let's be really honest, who may not like me at all as a leader in the building? those people still deserve thanks and recognition of what we do too. So I think those were two things that I'm thinking about, is just kind of keeping yourself in the best light. And then also, what are we doing to recognize everybody or give thanks to everybody, especially those people who it's not nearly as easy to do so because they may not be in our inner circle.
Yeah. I think the gratitude component is important right now, especially. It's just a good reminder, right? And I think that is the nice thing about holiday seasons, right? I think it causes us to slow down and kind of really appreciate the things that are really important. And I know I'm grateful for the fact that I get an opportunity to see family here in the next month. I'll see them a few times, right? And that's, we get so busy in our lives, we just go. And so for the listeners out there, it's just a reminder, right? How are we showing our gratitude to others, and how are we being really intentional in doing that? It's funny, you talk about the inner circle, right? So I had a conversation yesterday, Joe, with a gentleman who's a school leader and just really struggling, right? And this was my takeaway from it. And he said something to me that it just caused me to pause and reflect a little bit. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us in the work we do, whether we're a school leader or whether we're a teacher in the classroom. Because again, I think there's always parallels between the levels, central office to building the classroom. But he said this to me. He said, Jimmy, yes, he goes, because he really just looked tired. He looked beat down. That's the only way I could describe. When he got on the Zoom, it was clear to me he was not in a good place, right? So I just kind of listened to him. He started off kind of slow, just kind of, you could see he was kind of reflecting. He was just kind of tired. And all I kept thinking the whole time is, I want to see if I can flip him around here by the end, like to see at least give him a little bit, like maybe it's not as bad as it is. And so I literally just spent the first 20 minutes, just listening. And it's sometimes that's what people need, right? They just need someone to kind of talk to, right? And talk through it a little bit. But here's what he said, Joe. He said, Jimmy, the thing is I believe in what my leader's doing, right? I'm all in. I believe in the work. The work is important. It's the right work to be doing for kids and for my staff. And he says, but the thing is, I feel like, this individual rolled out a 4-year vision plan, right? And we were so excited, like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. He said, but never did I imagine that 4-year plan, I feel like we're trying to get it done in 1 year. And that's what's killing me, right? Like, I can't keep up. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us, right? That how hard are we going at people that sometimes we all need to slow down, right? Like, as a leader in our buildings or in our classrooms or the district office, are we cognizant of what's happening to our people who are, he's all in. He's working long hours every day, but how do we not recognize what we're doing to our people? And it's just a good reminder to all of us that, hey, listen, just because people maybe are a little tired or complain a little bit, it doesn't mean they're not supporting the work. Doesn't mean they don't believe in the work. Maybe we need to reflect on how much are we demanding of them. And it kind of reminds me, right? We're seeing all this stuff on Twitter right now. What's happening with Twitter? It's kind of the same, right? Elon Musk saying, hey, I'm going to expect you to work X amount of hours. You're going to have to work harder than you've ever worked. And, at what cost? And that inner circle, right? This is where it kind of started, because in his inner circle right now really is only the people at work. His family has been neglected. He literally told me that he feels terrible about that. And I said, so what are we going to do about that? How do you get them back in the inner circle, right? There are definitely seasons of the work that come at you hard, but that shouldn't last for 3 months or 4 months. And something's not right there. He can't sustain that. It's obvious. He's not feeling well. He's feeling unhealthy. He hasn't exercised. He's completely exhausted. He feels guilty. He hasn't spent any time at all with his loved ones. Like, what are we doing to ourselves? Because I told him, I said, the thing you have to reflect on always is, I said, I know it, having been in that place, but I know this: when you leave that building that you're living in, I promise you they're not going to name the building after you. They're not. And so it's just a reminder for all of us, right? So any thoughts on that, Joseph?
That's a really good point. And I think it's two things. First, I was listening to Scott Van Pelt this week, and he was talking about how Jeff Saturday got the job to coach the Colts. And he was talking about like the pedigree of the coach and like how does this guy who hasn't done any coaching end up, being a coach. And and whatever that expects or entails or whatever. And the thing that he was talking about was, why not? I mean, give the guy a shot or whatever. It's the Colts owner's money. Let him do whatever he wants with it in terms of what's going to happen. But the conversation went to like, what are we doing to ourselves in terms of getting ready for whatever the next thing is? We don't know what the next thing is, but he's talking about the idea that people are, there's this mentality in that arena, and it's a very parallel situation here. There's this mentality that you have to be the first person in the office and the last person out of the office. And if you look down the hallway and you see a light on with one of your assistants, then you have to stay till that assistant is gone because you're the head coach or you're the principal or you're the superintendent. You have to make sure that you're the last one in the building. And at what cost does that come? I mean, how often, there's always going to be something to do. I promise you there will always be something to do. And I find myself doing it all. I do it too. I find myself in a situation where I'll get one more thing done. I'll get one more thing done. And I'm just in that spot all the time. And at the same time, if I don't break away and say, well, I'm just going to go home and hang out with my family or whatever the case may be, then I could probably get 3 more things done, but I'm going to come to school the next day and there's going to be 5 more things on the plate anyway, right? And do I really need to get that done? And at what cost does that really come? And I think there's the parallel is twofold. One, it's important that people know and understand that we're all in for the organization. I understand that. But if that gets to a tipping point where what you model is you're always there, and you're always invested, no matter what, with every breath that you take. It's about Fall Creek, Wisconsin, right? If that's what you get out there, that's what you're modeling, and that's inherently what's going to be expected of them internally. Not that you're going to expect that as the leader, but when you model it, then that turns into the expectation. And I was awful with that. I would I'm out here. Geez, Jimmy, I'm out here sending text messages at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, just to get stuff off my chest because I'm still thinking about it, thinking that it's going to help people because the next day they'll have the information when they come to school. And until I realized that everybody was getting mad at me for doing this because I was putting some on their plate right before they went to bed. And what I'm modeling is that I'm not investing with my family, that I'm not investing outside of here. And so if I say to them, I need you to be invested with your family. I need you to break away from here. I need you to get away from here. All this stuff will be here. Please don't worry about it. Please spend time with your family. Please spend time with your family. Like just get to be with them. And then I'm out here sending emails and text messages while I'm supposed to be with my family and impeding the time that they have with theirs. What am I really modeling in terms of what that looks like? And we've told people often here that, we've told them, you will not get a response. You will not get an email or a text message from an administrator until you come back from your break. You just won't. So Don't look for it, A, and B, don't send it because you're not going to get anything in response either. So we're breaking away. Get away from it. It'll all be here.
Yeah, great points, Joe. And Jay Anderson, thank you, Jay, for sharing that. And thanks for being on the show here this morning. And we appreciate you sharing your vulnerability. And I think for a lot, especially school leaders and district leaders and, teachers, it doesn't matter. The role is, for a lot of us, it's kind of in our DNA, right? That's the issue. We're driven, and there's nothing wrong with that. We shouldn't apologize for having a strong work ethic or for being driven or being ambitious. We shouldn't apologize for that. But I do think the key is to recognize that, hey, we know how we can be, but what am I going to do about that, right? Because, Joe, you said it perfect, right? What are we modeling? And the truth of the matter is, as leaders, when we're modeling these types of things, what we don't realize is that there's other people who cannot keep up that pace. They just can't keep it up.
Right.
And that is
for whatever reason, Jimmy.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
Right? Yeah, and that's not a healthy thing to model. It's when you were saying that, I always go back to John Wooden's quote. I don't know if people who follow John Wooden or like his work, but one thing he always said that I really love that quote, and I try to always remember it is that the greatest leadership tool we have is our own personal example. And it's just always something, to reflect on, to what are we modeling, because that is a leadership tool, right? It allows us to how we build capacity, how we grow and develop our people, how we get people excited about doing the work and yet do it in a really healthy way. So for those people that are out there, oh my gosh, Carol, my heart goes out for you. Buffalo. Oh my goodness.
Buffalo.
Oh my goodness. We are not going to complain about the weather today, people, because if you're bitching about your weather today, just get on a plane and go to Buffalo. Oh, sorry.
You won't
do that.
You can't do that. Not at all.
Do that today.
I couldn't believe the amount of snow, and I'm typically yelling and screaming about snow here. We had snow. We had snow for 5 days in a row. Like, Joe, and none of it is stuck. None of it.
Joe, here's what I'm thinking. I know you can't fly in there now, but if there was any way you could get to Buffalo, here's what I'm thinking. This would be cool. You know how you're always kind of complaining about the weather in Wisconsin? Imagine if you got to Buffalo and you started in Buffalo, you could do a 1 week. Here's my 1 week walk to Fall Creek, Wisconsin. And then you could complain about the weather all you want, Joe. 1 week walk. Let's try that one. Instead of 1 minute walk, we can do a 1 week walk. What do you think about that?
Jimmy, well, what do I think about that? I think that
we
means
generate ideas here. That's what I love about it. Joe, don't put the lid on me. Don't put the lid on my idea.
I'm not putting the lid on you. I think that what I would need is coaching along the way. So I'd love to have you join me on that 1 week walk, because if you're going to model what leadership is, you'd walk side by side with me. And I know halfway through, you'd be like, you know what? We're just gonna get a plane at this point. I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. I got things to do. I'm not gonna do this anymore, right? Like, it's not even about the exercise. It's the time that it would take you. Be like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. Give me a plane.
We'd say what we model is what we get. Let's go get a pizza. Anyway, gas station pizza all along the way. And then Frank has to jump on here and go Browns. Go Browns.
Football is not a conversation. It's a topic of conversation at this point, especially in the state of Wisconsin at this point. So I think the idea that we keep coming back to is the modeling piece of what we do. So we started out talking about thanks, right? And then we started talking about modeling, right? And if we could put those two things together, what are we doing to make sure that we model what it looks like to thank people and connect with people so they know and understand the great work that they're doing? Last night, two really cool things happened yesterday that normally were cool in the moment, but the idea that you could extend them and create another moment for people was really cool for me. Like yesterday, we had just a elementary school assembly, and one teacher got their name pulled out of a hat to win a donut. Jimmy, a donut. Like, that's the prize. It was a donut. We're not talking like a week off of work. We're not talking like a car. It was a donut. And as soon as that name got pulled, every kid in his class and everybody that was around him and all in this whole big assembly went bananas. Like he had won the lottery. It's not $1.4 billion. It's a donut. People, was a donut. And they were so excited for him. So anyway, so I ended up, not ironically, but I was there at the time and I was recording pieces of it, and I got it on video, and I sent it to him and I sent it to his wife. And I'm like, look at the reaction from these kids for, this is what it means. This is what you mean to them, which is cool. And then last night I was going to get some stuff. We haven't talked about my issue at our cabin with the beavers taking down trees, which we can do a whole show on. But I was getting stuff at our local store to get for the beavers to get them away, right? And I was walking around, and all of a sudden I get hit on the shoulder by a plastic shark. Some kid threw a plastic shark, hit me in the shoulder. I turned around, and it was one of our students. She was so happy. She took off down an aisle, running away like she had stolen $1 million. She's taken off. I go chasing after her around. I come find her, chase her around again, and find her. And we're smiling and laughing. And I sent that, I just sent her dad a video, because her dad's here too, just to say, hey man, she made me smile. Like, that was cool. Made me smile. And I think little things like that. I mean, think about how long it took me to send the extra piece of it, the text message, the video that I sent to the teacher, and the text message that I sent to the parent. It took 20 seconds. But think about what's going to happen in those two spots. I mean, the response I got from the teacher was awesome. And we went back and forth a couple times, and it was just a great chance to say thank you. And I haven't got a response from the dad yet, but he's hunting. So I'm guessing I'll get something later, right? What I mean? So that's just that, it's that concept. It makes me feel like, and let's be really honest, Jimmy, there's some selfishness in this too. Okay. When I do that, when I send that stuff out, it's not just about making that other person feel good, because I feel good every time I sent it. And guess what? When I sent it, I forgot about 2 of the conversations that I had during the day that weren't awesome. Right? Mm-hmm. It pulled me away from the negativity just by flipping the switch in terms of doing something. And it's not rocket science. You don't have to write 9 books on it. You don't have to do 50 podcasts on it. It's literally just trying to figure out a way to extend great conversations and thank people, because it makes them feel better. It makes you feel better. And it just helps. That's just what it is.
Right. It's a reminder, who are we keeping in our inner circle, right? It's why it's so important that, and remember, we belong in that inner circle too. Like, we're like the core of that inner circle. And then our own children, our own spouse, our purpose, right? Or our faith, that should be in the inner circle. But unfortunately, oftentimes for school leaders, the inner circle is their staff and their students. And we feel guilty when they're not in our inner circle. But it's not being disrespectful. It's not like we're hurting them by keeping them on the outer ring. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes they will come into the inner circle. There is a child who is in need, that needs our attention for a while, or a staff member or a colleague, but they shouldn't be in there for 3 or 4 months at the cost of neglecting your own family. So for teachers, remember, I know you keep your own students in your inner circle, but what about your own children? Why do they end up on the outer ring and they don't get the best mom coming home? They don't get best version of dad coming home, right? They get the tired, irritated, agitated dad or mom, and that's not good for us. So we have to invert that circle, and maybe that's the message for this morning. In this next week, how are you going to be really intentional to bring those loved ones back into your inner circle and be really present in the conversations, give them your time, and just be focused on them and talk about them and their dreams and your dreams together, the things that you want to accomplish together, the ambitions, and rather than just talk about work all the time, which we can kind of catch ourselves doing sometimes. So we appreciate the comments. Thank you, Ben. That's an awesome comment too. We love that. We appreciate that. Joe, when you were talking about the beavers, I have to be really honest. I never even thought about that you could literally have in Wisconsin beavers in your school. Because here's what I started thinking. I started thinking about all the times in a school that we had to stop school to get some animal out of our building. Cats and dogs and birds. I remember one time we had a whole flock of ducks coming in. And the duck was living outside in front of our building, and it was laying eggs, and the little ducklings would come. And one day they all marched into the school, and we're all trying to, take care of them and guide them back out and all this crazy stuff. Bats. We had bats in our school one time flying around. It was crazy, but never beavers. But we've had squirrels. I've had a raccoon one time. We had to set a trap because those things can be feisty. And one time, believe it or not, Joe, we had a deer jump through one of our windows in our courtyard into the classroom, and it was not good. Everybody wants to be part of that deer because it was so spooked,
it's bad.
But it was going crazy. It was, oh my God, it was just sad, to be honest with you. But I mean, just literally jumped right through a window, and then it was not good.
So anyway, let's be clear. Like, beavers are not in school, but not in school. These are the beavers that we have up north at my cabin up north. So that's what we're dealing with.
Oh, I thought you were talking about beavers in your school.
No, not at all. No. But here's the interesting thing. You talk about all this stuff. There's Jen Klotzko is in Tahoe, California. And I saw some pictures. She's a principal. I saw some pictures from her. They had bear just walking around their playground. Like, oh, I guess that's what we're doing now. Like bear. Like the bear. We're walking, and we've had them. We have bear in northern Wisconsin. And they from time to time, that they'll find their way. We had bear come through town like maybe 2 years ago, just come through town and then ended up in a tree or whatever. But I've seen like 5 or 6 pictures of bear on her campus. That's crazy. Like, if you just think, well, today we got to watch out because there's going to be a bear on a campus. What is that?
No recess today, Joe. Bear alert. No recess today.
That's legit. I bet you that's legit. I bet you there are people out there that are watching that are in some part of the United States that their bear is. That's just what it is. I bet Maine. I'm trying to think. Montana. Other places that we've both been. There's got to be people out there going, yeah, Joe. Yeah, Jimmy. Bear. It's a thing. It's an absolute thing.
It's like the first time I went to Alaska, and I land at the airport, grab my rental car, and I'm driving up the highway, and the first sign I see is 1,545 people have been killed by moose this year. Drive carefully. I'm like, what?
It's true.
What?
It's true. Yeah.
I'm going like 40
That's
miles an hour
nuts.
up the highway. So
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Well, we want to, as we look into like what the week looks like for everybody, we want to make sure that they can get everything, started the way that they want. I want us to think about, or we want you to think about, but the thing that I was thinking about is how are we giving thanks to the people, not only in our inner circle, people outside of our circle, but making sure that the inner circle stays the inner circle in a way that you can break away from all the stuff that's going on outside and actually be present and engaged. And I think one of the things that's important about that is knowing and understanding yourself. So you know and understand how you can put yourself in the best mindset to be present and engaged for the people that you're with, no matter who those people are. If we're going to spend so much time in PD and talking about how we can be great for the kids that we serve in school and the teachers that we serve in school, how come we're not doing equally as much or any when it comes to what are we doing to be present and engaged for the people that we care about the most, that love us the most, that give us the most latitude? What are we doing for them? Right? And I don't think we think about that nearly enough. And we've talked about this, Jimmy, like balance is what it is, right? I mean, there are times throughout the course here where there is none. But when you do have an opportunity to get some balance back in what you do, if you don't take advantage of it, that's on you. That is 100% on you, right? Because if you don't notice that this is a time where you can break away and you don't, that's on you. So what are you doing to know yourself well enough to know and understand? I'll tell you right now, we're going to be done with this. Then I'm done. I'm going, beaver hunt. But, after that, I'm just going to be like I'm just going to hang out. I'm going to a place where there is no reception, nothing. I will not get a text message or an email. And I need that. Because if I do have that connectivity, I'll probably check. Right. So you just got to be in a spot where you know yourself well enough to know what is it going to take to get you to be present and engaged with the people that you care about.
I just realized something when you first told me that you were thinking about buying a cabin up north, right? I just realized, no, that was Andrea saying, let's get a cabin up north. I need to get you away from that work, Joe Sanfilippo.
All right, buddy. Hey, she wants the Wi-Fi going. That's the thing right there. That's what she keeps coming on. Yeah.
No Wi-Fi. So, hey, listen, thank you so much, Joe. Hey, thank you for all of us who joined us this morning. We're going to stop right there. Joe and I, are going to model that. So next week, we will not be here. We are going to take the week off. We hope that everyone enjoys time with their family and loved ones, or maybe just some time to get away from it all. So thank you, all of you, for what you do. Thank you for the work that you're committed to. We appreciate you. God bless you. And Joe Sanfilippo, travel safely today. And again, we apologize for the technical difficulties here this morning. But remember, people, stay away from the bears. Stay away
and
from
the beavers.
Bears. Travis Bloom says, yep, been there, done that too. So we appreciate everybody. God bless everybody. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later, Joe.